So it's been a while since the first layoff, but I wanted to ask you. I mean, that was such a big moment. What did getting back in there and picking up a result like that feel like to you?
You know, it wasn't obviously under the best circumstances. I took the fight on short notice. First week, especially fighting in California, you got to jump through a bunch of rings of fire just to get in that octagon. So first week was all medicals. The second week was, getting, make sure that I'm ready to go. And then the last week was fight week. So of course it wasn't under the best of circumstances for me. I took that fight on short notice, but I did whatever it took to get my hand raised. I found a way to win, and just said to me, even if you had a kid, you still can do it. You can still hang at the top of the division. You just beat a former world champion. So no
question. And then I'm sure the idea was to build a little momentum off that, right? And then to kind of get going again. And then you got to wait a little while. So what's the mindset been like to that? Has it been difficult to not be able to kind of start that momentum again?
You know, this sport is very brutal. It requires a lot of your body. It requires a lot of your mindset. Unfortunately, injuries are part of the game, and that's the nature of the beast. I got hurt, but it ended up working out for me. Instead of fighting a number 3 girl, I'm fighting a number 1 girl. And, obviously, albeit God willing, get past this fight, I see that I'm the only clear-cut answer as far as fighting for the title.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I mean, despite having these kind of setbacks along the way, they keep pairing you up with former champions, right? So, I mean, does that show that, hey, the organization obviously believes in me and my abilities, even though I'm not able to fight as frequently as I might like?
You know, I've always been showing that I've been game. I won the Ultimate Fighter, and then of course, I got injured. That was, my bad. Again, part of the sport nature of the beast. But then when I came back, I was fighting girls in the top of the division. I fought Jessica I, who was, I think, number 5 at the time. I fought Kat Zingano, I think, who was number 2 at the time. Then I fought a number 1 contender, Valentina. And then I fought former world champion, Nika Montano. And now I'm fighting again, number 1 girl in the world. So I think that the resume speaks for itself. I've only dropped 1 in the UFC. I got overzealous, and I've corrected those mistakes. I get past this one. I don't honestly see anybody else that could be leapfrogging me at this point. I've only dropped 1. Girls with lesser resumes than me have been fighting for the titles and are going to be fighting for the title, let's say in December, for example. So I've been fighting in this division just as long as Amanda has. And again, God willing, I get past this fight, which is what I see. I'm the only option left.
Well, I was going to say, I guess the only other option might be the name that gets thrown out there a lot is Irene Aldana, and I think it's interesting that you guys are on the same card, So do you feel like you're both competing for the same spot, or do you feel like you get it no matter what?
No, I don't. I think that I get it no matter what. That's the only thing that I see.
Nice. Talk about the matchup itself in this one. I mean, on paper, both of you very exciting, both of you at the top of the division. Is it striker versus grappler? Is that what we break this down to, striker versus grappler?
I think it's a classic striker versus grappler type of match. Amanda wrote the blueprint the first time, and then she, of course, went in and did it again the second time. So I definitely think that I just need to go in there and do what I know that I can do, look for the finish always, and do whatever it takes to get my hand raised.
Nice. And last thing for me, knowing that you see, kind of title implications on the line, do you feel like you do have to do something special? You have to send a message? You have to make sure people know it's your shot, or do you just feel like a win is a win?
I feel like no matter what, you got to do whatever it takes to get that win, and that's what I've always done. Of course, I want the finish, but anything can happen in there. I'm going to literally fight tooth and nail and come with all that I have to get my hand raised.
Were you surprised at the matchmaking, considering we're talking about Irene and we're talking about you, you're fighting on the same card. You're both fighting people who have already lost in their title shots. Do you think it would have just made sense to have you two fight instead?
I just look at it as a girl power thing. I know that there was a girl fight scratched from this card, and so that would have been 4 girl fights on one night. To me, it's all about women empowerment, and I'm like, yeah, it's girl night, girl power. So, it doesn't matter to me whether I fight co-main event or, third to the last or main event. The point of the matter is that I'm fighting, I'm getting back in there, and that's all I care about.
What did you make of Germaine's last performance? She felt like when she showed up, she said she was getting ready to fight. Amanda just didn't want to lose. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I didn't hear. I don't recall watching that, but what I do recall is that Germaine is a tough girl, and she hung in there for 5 rounds, and she was continuing to fight the entire time. She's a former world champion for a reason, and she just loves to fight. She loves to get in there, and she loves to compete. She's a tough girl, and I was very impressed with her performance to continue to fight tough for all 5 rounds, 25 minutes of pure fighting.
And then Amanda Nunes has teased retirement a few times in the past few months. She just had her first daughter. She's now a mom. If she does hang it up, would you feel a sense of like lost opportunity in not getting to challenge who many consider to be the greatest female fighter ever?
Listen, I have respect for all of these women in the division. Of course, I have respect for the champion, but one thing that I see happen all the time is if you don't fight for your belt in a year, then you got to give it up, you know? And if she doesn't fight for the belt at 135 pounds, it's time to give it up and let somebody else have a try. If she doesn't want to fight me, then, you know, that's fine. It seems like she's been, you know, picking most of her fights, and that's her right as a champion. But my job is to keep my eyes on the prize, and for me, that has always been fighting for the belt and getting that 12 pounds of gold strapped around my waist, and that's the only thing that I see. That's my goal, and I'm not going to stop until I get there.
One question for me. What do you think that needs to be done to stop Amanda?
I definitely think that in the past, we've seen that she doesn't have that much of a gas tank, and she doesn't like to be fighting wrestlers. I think Kat Zingano was able to ragdoll her all over the cage and get her stopped with the TKO. And then she hasn't really fought a wrestler since then. So I definitely think that, you know, being the champion, being able to handpick your opponents is definitely something that is in favor of the champion, to be able to pick who you want, but she hasn't fought a wrestler since then. And she's definitely not going to be fighting a wrestler in Megan Anderson. And so I definitely think that, you know, that is the type of style of fighting that will be able to defeat her, as we've seen in the past. And that's been my style of fighting.
And the same question about Valentina Shepchenko.
What about her?
What needs to be done to stop her?
I messed up with Valentina Shepchenko. I thought 17-time Muay Thai world champion, all I got to do is take this girl down to the ground and it's in the bag. I think that I learned a very good lesson, and you cannot underestimate any opponent that you fight. You have to obviously understand that this is MMA, mixed martial arts. It's called mixed martial arts for a reason, and all of these girls are well-versed everywhere. So I got overzealous, I made a mistake, and I've corrected those mistakes, and I think that I definitely, you know, wanted that rematch with Valentina. Unfortunately, she moved down to the 125-pound division, but if I could, you know, get that dream matchup, that's definitely one that I would love to avenge.
You're still doing commentary for Combate?
Yes.
Do you want to make the jump to the UFC at some point?
You know, I am a very loyal person. Campbell McLaren gave me a chance to commentate for Combate Americas, and it's something that I enjoy doing. I love commentating. I could talk about MMA all day long. And that's just something that I love to do, and it's an honor and it's a blessing. We will continue in the beginning of the year, and I will be with Combate Americas still. And, you know, if the door opens up, I haven't heard Dana calling and asking, but if he did, you know, I would like to also commentate for the UFC and in the future. But in the meantime, I'm happy where I'm at.
We spoke to Dan Hardy yesterday. He said since he became a commentator, he's a completely different fighter based on, when he comes back, based on the amount of research he has to do. Are you in the same boat? How have you changed since become a commentator?
I'll tell you, one of the hardest things about commentating that people don't take into consideration is how much hard work it actually is in researching these fighters, watching their fights, and knowing who it is that you're going to be talking about. The good thing about the UFC is that they got people in their ear.
Sure.
They got a truck. They have production teams. It's literally me and my partner, and that's it. I don't have anybody in my ear. I don't have anybody giving me back the playbacks and being like, okay, take a look at this and then tell me what to say. I'm literally shooting from the hip with Max Bretos every single time. And I think that, you know, later on in the future when it does get to ESPN and stuff like that, I'm going to be like, wow, this is easy. This is crazy how easy it is, you know, because I have been working hard in researching these fighters. And I definitely think that the UFC commentators definitely also research who it is that they're fighting, and they have to know these guys. And I think that that's something that, you know, a lot of people don't take into consideration, actually how much homework and how much research actually goes into the job.
You know, you've always been so well spoken since you first came to the UFC, but I felt like you used to have a chip on your shoulder a lot, and now it just seems like you're kind of relaxed and enjoying it. I mean, is that a conscious effort, or being a mom? Is this just you growing up a little bit?
You know, I was telling the guys before I got in here, I need to slow down. I need to, you know, slow down when I'm speaking. But sometimes you get all these cameras in your face, and it's just like a fight. Your heart's thumping, and you start, and so one of the things that I've been trying to work on, which is not, you know, that easy when I got the machine gun at the mouth, is slowing down my speech and being a little bit more methodical. Maybe think before you actually open your mouth and talk. And I definitely think that practicing with commentating has helped me, you know, kind of refine. But I still got work to do. I'm not perfect.
So all the athletes who come here, they usually wear t-shirts, training gear, and you wear a dress. Why is that? Is that a special occasion for you?
It's not a special occasion for me. When I was on The Ultimate Fighter, and anybody that knows me knows that I've been wearing makeup since I was in the 4th grade, caked on blue eyeshadow and mascara. I love being a girl. I love dressing up, and I love to, display my feminine side. I did that on The Ultimate Fighter, and I think that was something that, all the other girls weren't, too cool with. They were like, why are you putting on makeup? And I'm like, this is just me. If I'm not training, I'm wearing mascara, I'm getting dressed up, and you always want to put your best foot forward. I'm fighting on the biggest stage in the world, and I want to make sure that, I look my best.